Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Spits and Suds. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan, and I'm joined by our NHL insider. You should really sign up for his Shap Shots Substack because you get all kinds of Stars information. He's also with EP Rinkside at Sean Shapiro on Twitter/X. He writes for D Magazine, and he comes to us today with a preview. But before we get to that, Mr. Shapiro, we are spending a lot of time together in this playoff series. So I was kind of thinking last night, will the wife allow me to move in like the Pavelski household?
I don't think so. I don't think so. My kids are still not self-sufficient the way I think the key for that working in the Pavelski household was Nate is also a fellow teenager. So it was I think it was the combination of just basically adding another teenager to another. I think that was the Pavelski family secret to it working, I believe.
Now we could flip it and Sean Shapiro could move in with me in the Bachelor lifestyle galore.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. So,
well, we thank Sean because Sean and I were on late last night, and here we are on a Monday talking about it again. So right now we're previewing and moving on for Colorado. And one of the reasons I love doing these podcasts is to kind of get you guys ready and talk about the various narratives and nuances and the little tidbits of this series. Granted, we've seen them. They're a Central Division opponent. Let's start with the scoring of last series, Sean. Colorado takes down Winnipeg 4-1, 22 goals in 5 games by the Colorado Avalanche. That was an impressive first round, specifically since they struggled with Winnipeg during the regular season.
Yeah, that series was, I think, one of the most biggest compliments to how good that series was for Colorado. I don't know if anyone saw Connor Hellebuck's comments after the series, where Connor Hellebuck was not good in that series and let up a lot of goals for a guy who's probably going to win the Vezina Trophy. And he said in his post series presser with the Winnipeg media how he thought he was in another zone. He thought he was playing some of the best hockey of his career, and the Avs were just that good at getting chances and everything against them. So huge. I picked Winnipeg in 7 in that series. And so to see Colorado win in 5, and frankly, it could have been a sweep if Colorado got better goaltending in game 1. That was a statement by Colorado. And so it's the road. You had to go through Vegas first. Now you get another challenge. So you get you go from the defending champs to the champs before them. So it's That's what you live for, though, right? Like, this is playoff hockey.
This is playoff hockey, especially against a defensive-minded Winnipeg team with under the bone defensive plan, which we've seen, and stick tap to the coach who, after 40 years in hockey, 40 or so years, is calling it a day. So big-time stick tap to the former coach of the Dallas Stars. But, boy, they really dismantled that defensive-minded Winnipeg Jets.
They did. They did. They really did. And they did a lot of things that are kind of the keys of Avalanche hockey: chaos, space manipulation, moving around, all these things that start with Nathan MacKinnon, really, at the top for Colorado. But it just kind of infiltrates through the entire lineup that this is the way and the phase and how they attack everything.
Yeah, so when we talk about advantages for the Stars, you had briefly mentioned it last night, and it starts with goaltending. Obviously, Jake Ottinger playing really well, and I think a lot of people have questions about the Avalanche net minding.
Oh, yeah. Alexander Georgiev, he had a really rough. He responded, and he had a better finish to the series. But if you want an example, like, that's a goaltender I worry about. And with a long break, if anything, you talk about rust versus rest. I'm curious about Georgiev having to reset after not playing for a week, because that would be my spot of the Stars. I would be going in, and I would be going into game 1 tomorrow night and circling shoot, because I do not trust Georgiev. And that is that's a big advantage. I mentioned it last night on our post-game pod. To me, the goaltending difference in this series is massive. So
The focus will obviously be on Nathan MacKinnon, and contender for the MVP, and for good reason, kind of putting this team on his back and having just an amazing season. What, breaking down Nathan MacKinnon for a Stars fan that really hasn't necessarily seen him an awful lot, Sean, he does everything well, but the attributes, what do you see that makes him so effective?
he's Mario Lemieux reincarnated. That's what he is. He is the most impressive hockey player to watch in the NHL right now. And I'm not being facetious about it. Connor McDavid is fast. Nikita Kucherov has incredible vision. Nathan MacKinnon is the best version of size and speed and decision making we've seen since Lemieux. It is, you watch him play, and like, it is just straight up fun to watch. It is like, it's not gonna be fun for Stars fans this series, because he's one of those forces that you hope to limit and you can't really contain, but he's that good. I mean, it's to go deep into Stars history that no one else is gonna listen. No one listening to this pod will remember. But Stars, the North Stars, before they were in Dallas, the North Stars made the Stanley Cup final in '91, and they just got steamrolled by Lemieux and the Penguins. And there's that famous goal where Lemieux dancing six guys to go through with size and speed. And to me, that is what MacKinnon is now. He is the guy, one of the few players in the world where I'm like, I'd go out of my way to buy a ticket to watch him play. And that's he is that good.
Yeah. So comparatively to Connor McDavid, and I say this for the following sentence: McDavid, Draisaitl on his wing, you have Mikko Rantanen on McKinnon's wing. Is that a fair comparison as far as, benefiting from being on the same line? And what does Mikko Rantanen bring to the table?
I mean, Rantanen's the big dude who is really big dude with hands that creates space, and when he's already creating extra space for MacKinnon, it's doing that. And in that series against Winnipeg, Val Nichushkin was on that line as well. So it is
that's a big boy first line.
It is a big line. Tanev and Lindell are going to see a lot of it, I bet. And that's going to be the key one here. We talked all about the Tanev transaction being this huge thing and everything. It's really going to be tested in this matchup, in this line, because his job is going to be because Pete DeBoer is not going to line match his forwards, but he is going to match his defensive pairs. And it's going to be important to see Tanev and Lindell do something against that trio to try to limit them. So,
couple of storylines. We have former Stars that are playing for Colorado currently. So that's always that's always fun. And you and I were chatting this morning, and I tweeted out, pretty hard to believe. I believe it's 15 seasons, over 1,000 games in the NHL, and this is only the second time in his NHL history that Matt Duchene has made it to the second round of the playoffs, and he was drafted third overall by the Colorado Avalanche. So a small little story right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Duchene is not going to be booed the way like Mark Stone was booed in Dallas, because it's been a little while, but I think old wounds take a while to go away. So there'll be some people in Colorado who remember his departure and try to remind him of how he's disliked there. And it's but also I'm sure for Duchene, this is a big relief too in his career to kind of have an opportunity he's never really had before. I know it's the second time he's reached the second round, but this is the best chance he's really had. So.
Yeah. Cale Makar, obviously we know about him, the outstanding defenseman for Colorado. But one thing sometimes people don't talk about is the reason that he can float so well offensively is when you have a line mate like Devin Taves. What a trade they made a few years ago, acquiring him from the Islanders. He's paid major dividends playing first line defensive pairing with Makar. He's outstanding. Just a nice presence there defensively.
For Taves, yeah. I mean, that is the guy who makes Makar's game even more effective. We talked about Rantanen kind of being that pillar that allows MacKinnon to get more space. Taves allows Makar to get more space. He allows him to play this role, and like Taves also can skate so well. This entire Avalanche defensive core, they skate well. They move the puck well. They're definitely a different team than Vegas. They're not the same defensive style. They're going to defend more with their feet than with their bodies. So it's a different type of challenge than it was against the Golden Knights. But I honestly think it could be one that actually suits Dallas a little bit more. They only scored what the series was 16 goals the last series against Dallas. I think this series, the goal scoring is going to be a lot higher. And I think part of that's going to be Dallas is going to naturally have more openings than they did against Vegas. And that's a good thing. So we will see. But I'm fascinated to see how Dallas switches it up to a new opponent defensive style and everything starting tomorrow night.
Yeah, that was my next question, Sean. Stylistically, what we saw from Vegas, obviously different in Colorado. And this seems to have the makings of don't turn away because this is going to be massively fast and up and down.
Yeah. Back and forth, get ready. And not just because of the altitude, you're going to need to catch your breath. Like this to me, though, this is the big series where you don't get to go down 0-2 in back-to-back series and live to tell about it. To me, this is a huge series for Dallas. You need to start strong at home. This, to me, is a big one on getting those out of the way because Denver is a very tough place to go on a short turnaround when you've been playing a lot. So to me, it's going to be fast. It's going to be back and forth. But Dallas, you got to throw that first punch in this series. To me, that's a huge thing here in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, on a side note, Spits and Suds, Sean and I have been talking a lot this year about defenseman Sean Walker, who was with Philadelphia, and he now is the third pairing defenseman with the Avalanche. So a real nice pickup that's kind of been under the radar when you look at, notable names and everything, but that is a terrific defenseman playing on the third pairing. That's outstanding for them. Oh yeah.
I mean, he comes in and he moves the puck well, and that's what the Avalanche defense do. They moved on from Bowen Byram to make the Middlestat trade. And I don't think Walker's as good as Bowen Byram, but he comes in and he's a reliable third pairing guy, moves the puck well, has a good shot, can get pucks through. These are all the things that the Colorado third pair is something that if I'm Dallas, I'm jealous of because you can trust them in pretty much every situation. And that's another thing that can come into play here. So,
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about Colorado, and now from what can the Stars do, what leaks have you seen that you think the Dallas Stars can take advantage of? Obviously, they're the 1 seed, so, play their game, limit turnovers, stay out of the penalty box. Those are all simple things, but is there anything that you've seen that Dallas can take advantage of?
I think I think one of the big things to remember is MacKinnon and his group are going to get going. If you can force turnovers against this team, there's like you talk about Dallas limiting turnovers, but if you can force turnovers against Colorado, this is a team where you can exploit space and get back after them quickly. You can go to those areas. You can get to the front of the net. All these spots because it's one of the great examples of great defense leads to great offense. This is a series to me that while a couple guys were extremely limited by Vegas, if Rope Hintz can get going this series and can with Robertson and Pavelski or however Pete DeBoer decides to shuffle his lines for game one, if you can get Rope Hintz going, he could really feast on this series. I know Colorado skates well. I know they do that, but part of the go, it leads to advantages on the other end. And then the other key thing here, when you talk about like finishing and everything like that, I think if Alexander Georgiev had been the goalie in net for Vegas this past series, Dallas didn't need 7 games. And so I think that's another big one here. I know I go back to that a lot, but it is a reality of I don't trust the Vegas goaltending. I mean, the Colorado goaltending. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, you mentioned Hintz. How does this series favor Joe Pavelski, let's just say, as opposed to what Vegas tried to do with him? It seemed as though Vegas was trying to get in front of him to prevent that high tip. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and that's how Vegas plays. Vegas creates that more of that bubble and they take space away. And Pavelski was they basically man marked Pavelski in the offensive zone many times too. So um I look at this series where Pavelski is a little bit more of a natural threat. Vegas is not going to bully guys around the net. They're not going to focus on him in that way. So I think Pavelski naturally has a better fit offensively. I think this entire series is that way, where like it took 2-1 games to beat Vegas. I think the Colorado, it's going to take some 4-3 games. And I think it's if Dallas can win low scoring games, that's going to be a testament to what the Stars are doing. So I think Pavelski fits in better in this matchup, and you need different guys to step up at different times, and maybe this is it. And this is kind of that. This is where Pavelski finds his fit and gets going because I have faith that he will be more of an impact player this series overall. We talked about it last night. He did have the unofficial assist on Wyatt Johnston's goal in Game 7, but I think this Colorado series is a better fit for him.
If you're Colorado and you're Coach Jared Bednar and his staff, are you trying to take Wyatt Johnston out of the action? Is that your focus?
The thing about both of these coaches is neither of them are really overly line matching guys. A lot of them are more of Pete DeBoer is more of a line roller. Jared Bednar is more of a situational user of lines where he looks at it's offensive zone starts versus defensive zone starts and becomes more and more of that as opposed to neither of them really coach based off of what the other team is doing. There's obviously an occasional matchup here and there. I think both teams will try to get matchups when it comes to defensemen versus forwards. Like I believe Tanev and Lindell, I said earlier, will probably get the MacKinnon line a ton. But I would imagine one of the philosophies of Colorado hockey is you're going to get it out of your own end and you're going to go. And so I don't think Wyatt Johnston is someone's name who's getting circled as that's how we do our lines yet, but he is definitely someone who other teams are talking about, right? Like it's impossible to not be a focus. And last year against Vegas in the Western Conference Final, Johnston had a quiet series. This year he's going into round 2 having off a tremendous series. He's going to be pestered a bit more. It's going to be another growth point for the 20-year-old kid who's going to be 21 by the end of this series. So
we talked about it a little bit last night based on the Nils Lundqvist error that led to a Vegas goal and could have been a really, really, just could have lost them the series. Let's be honest. Luckily it didn't, but we now can focus on another series and what the Stars will do. Obviously, you mentioned last night, Sean. Sure, there's a lot of internal meetings that are taking place. Give me your thoughts because Colorado, with their up and down style, I would think, and this is just me talking, it would be tougher to play 5D men against that speedy Colorado Avalanche team.
It's not I don't even know if it's the Colorado. I don't know if it's the Avalanche themselves. I worry about the 5 defensemen going into the altitude. Like I really do. I think there's very few. There aren't many places in the NHL where home ice advantage actually has a huge impact. I think it's many times it's overplayed in many cases. But Colorado is one where that's not the case because it is, especially with quick turnarounds, especially with short teams. Their teams hate it. And the Avalanche players are used to playing in it. That to me is the bigger concern than the actual speed of the Avalanche. It's more so, how are you going to keep everyone fresh when you do this? And I also worry more. It's funny because I don't worry about Miro Heiskanen and Thomas Harley. Those aren't the guys I worry about playing 24, 25 minutes. I think they can handle it because they would play that role even if there was a 6th defenseman playing. I'm more so worried about Esa Lindell, Ryan Suter, the times when those minutes, and when it starts to get to the point where eventually those guys' minutes start getting higher and higher than it should be. So I don't think playing 5 defensemen is sustainable in the long run. It's going to happen. but I I really I would worry about that. This is a worry for me, legit worry for me with the Stars of, are you going to eventually burn the candle on both ends too much with everyone? So
who would be your choice, Coach Shapiro, for that sixth defenseman in Game 1?
I would probably bring Derek Pouliot in. Even if I know he's only going to play 7 or 8 minutes, he's been with Dallas for this. I would also have a much better idea of what Yanni Hakanpää's health was if I was the coach. So that would be my other secret to success. But I for Game 1, I would bring Pouliot in, and I would then see what happens. And then I would have a conversation, and then I would potentially look at some other options depending on how Game 1 goes. That would be my first step for me.
Also wanted to ask you, with them playing on different days, what would be your philosophy on Maverick Bourque with this series? Do you call him up and have him on standby, or do you have him?
No.
Okay. So we're past that point.
We're past that point. I mean, okay. you have Dellandrea is healthy and can come in. You've got 13. You've got your third. Like, to me, Maverick Bourque is only getting recalled up here to Dallas if you're down below 13 healthy forwards, so you have coverage for that. But right now, it would be to me, it would be kind of foolish to go too far down that route. So
yeah. Well, this could be a lengthy one. This is could be 6 or 7 games, which would be a lot of fun. This is going to be a fun series, just like Vegas. I just can't. I said it last night. I'll say it again. I can't believe we're just done with round 1. I mean, it's
gauntlet. It is a gauntlet. It is a grind, and I fully expect this one to go 6 or 7 games. It's just I don't see how it doesn't go that way. And the good thing for Dallas is it's tough to win. You got to get through. I think they're better prepared for Colorado, having played Vegas, than they would have if they had just kind of cakewalked LA or something like that in the first round. So
and we'll see about if rest paid dividends or if continual play paid dividends.
Yep. Another key one there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're a beast, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking with you throughout this series. Of course, what a great preview this was as far as Colorado and Dallas. Just wanted to give you some nuggets as far as like what to expect and talk about Colorado as a whole with their lines and their defensive pairing, some of the names you might not have heard of. Some of the names obviously are household, but bottom line is this is going to be fun, and we're going to be with you on Spits and Suds for the entire ride. Once again, you can subscribe to Sean at Shap Shots. You can find him on Twitter at Sean Shapiro. You can watch his movie, The Late Game Movie, and see him performing admirably in net. D Magazine as well. I mean, he's all over the place, and we're so happy to have him on Spits and Suds. My friend, we will talk to you again soon.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be I'm fascinated to watch this series start tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's going to be really fun. So it's a good one. So
I know. And I will say, am I right on this, Sean? Don't panic. If Game 1, just don't. We just witnessed the series. They were down 0-2. And Sean, you brought up a great point. You don't want to go down 0-2 again, but let's not panic. Series, a lot of times, especially when they're very good to outstanding teams, go 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, we can have the 0-2 discussion if it happens, but just you want to avoid 0-2.
Yeah.
So let's call it. We can be honest about that. You want to avoid 0-2. I don't.
Right.
But it is. But losing Game 1 is not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I think that's the reality here. So.
Yep, absolutely. Can't wait to hear the barn tomorrow night. For Sean Shapiro, I'm Gavin Spittle. Thank you so much for listening and supporting and spreading the word about Spits and Suds. Have a great day, everyone.